You're watching India Global with me, Arjun, Samar, Mahendran, and here are the headlines this Wednesday. Accused NRI driver from Canada arrested in iconic 114-year-old marathon runner Fauja Singh's hit-and-run case. Canada's Alberta province seeks terror label for Lawrence Bishnoi gang, cites group's growing influence across Canada. Bangladesh in the process of demolishing iconic filmmaker Satyajit Ray's ancestral house, despite New Delhi's offer to convert it into a museum. Donald Trump makes another big comment on India trade deal, claims Washington is close to securing total access into Indian markets. And India bolsters security along Pakistan border, New Delhi to get 3 Apache helicopters from US next week. A top focus this Wednesday on India Global viewers. In a major breakthrough in the veteran marathoner Fauja Singh hit-and-run case, the Punjab police have arrested one Amritpal Singh Dhillon late Tuesday. Now, he's been identified as a non-resident Indian or an NRI. Amritpal Singh was arrested in Kartarpur, which happens to be his hometown. Now, Dhillon has recently returned from Canada and was the one driving the SUV at the time of the incident. Dhillon admitted that 114-year-old Fauja Singh was in fact hit by his car in Jalandhar. He also told police that the accident happened while he was returning home after selling his phone in Bhogpur on Monday afternoon. Now, since the car was moving at a high speed, it hit Singh. Amritpal Singh fled the scene as he got scared, he told the police. Meanwhile, Singh's fellow runners in East London remember him. Here's a report.
Here in East London, it is as if Fauja Singh never left. This is where he lived for the last nearly 35 years of his life, in Ilford in East London. He started his days very early, dressed up very well, walked always, never took public transport, walked from point A to point B, because that way he could stop at many places, meet many people, have a chat, have a cup of chai.
This Saturday, 7 to 10 p.m. On Punjab radio, I play Babaji's favorite song, Gaddiyan Wali Taro.
At 114 years of age, Fauja Singh's days began here, at the London East Gurudwara, where he walked to from home. Ajmer Singh's eyes well up at the thought that the everyday visits at his Victoria motor garage by one familiar friendly face will disappear. This means no chai with Fauja Singh each morning, no wise conversations on life anymore.
I think wisdom, I think he gave you sort of confidence, That's what we see.
Do you miss him?
Of course.
Gurudwaras in London offered a special prayer for the turbaned tornado, the oldest marathon runner from London, who died in a road accident in India on the 14th of July. Sikhs in the city are creating a running club in his name in Ilford, in East London.
He began his day, he will get up in the morning, get ready, and he was not a normal person. He will not leave his house without getting all his clothes, brand new clothes, every morning. Matching ties, suit, shirt, turban, and even the shoes. The man was a legend. That's the only word you can. He will always be smiling, very charitable. Money have no value for him.
The runner inspired many, like Baljit Singh, to start a running program for young people across the world.
And we will now be running as a legacy for Fauja Singh. So what you're looking at there is a certificate which we did many, many years ago. and he signed each one.
So Fauja Singh inspired you to start Fauja Singh 5K.
Yes. He
And how many
definitely
people
did.
run this 5K? And how long do they take to train to run 5K?
Right,
Children?
okay. So when we're in Canada, right, there are children, and the ages range from 7 upwards up to the age of 21 because it's a camp, actually a youth camp.
He says Fauja Singh inspired many women too, to walk more, exercise more. Fauja Singh shot to fame in 2004 when Adidas signed him for the Impossible is Nothing campaign, which was also featuring the likes of Muhammad Ali at the time. In 2012, Fauja Singh at 101 was invited to be the torchbearer of the 2012 Olympics.
Fauja Singh looked very frail, but he was fierce in his conviction. His face full of sincerity, his heart full of positive energy, and his conversations with locals here in East London full of wisdom, full of life. From people that I met, some who were family, some who were just friends, his co or fellow walkers and runners, say that it's not just the Sikh community that he lit up with his wisdom and with his example of a life, but he lit up a generation. And Fauja Singh will live on for many, many years. Radhika Iyer in East London, NDTV.
Shifting focus to Canada, where in a strong push for national security, Alberta has joined British Columbia in urging the federal government to label the India-based Lauren Bishnoi gang as a terrorist organization. Premier Daniel Smith and Public Safety Minister Mike Ellis say the gang is dangerous transnational network involved in extortion, targeted killings and even drug trafficking right here in the heart of Canada. Now, the move comes amid rising concerns about threat to South Asian communities in Alberta, British Columbia and even Ontario. Meanwhile, Edmonton's interim police chief backs the call, saying the step would give police powerful new tools to dismantle such networks. Now, Alberta is sending a clear message. You are not welcome here. Federal action could very well unlock stronger law enforcement powers, which will be essential in fighting a gang whose global ties are now hitting Canadian streets. Meanwhile, my colleague Maha Siddiqui gets you this report from Ground Zero.
2 weeks after the Premier of British Columbia, David Eby, said that he was going to write to Prime Minister Mark Carney, urging him that the Lawrence Bishnoi gang be listed as a terrorist organization, a similar sentiment has now been expressed by the Premier of British Columbia, Daniel Smith. She was supported by the Public Safety Minister, and later on, the interim Edmonton Police Chief said that this move would go a long way in providing more powers and tools to the police force to deal with the organized crime that is on the rise in some pockets in Canada. Now, these pockets, and that is concerning really, are where the South Asian community largely resides. In British Columbia, specifically in Surrey, business people have expressed their anguish and have complained to the government about the threats and the extortion calls that they've been receiving. And this, in fact, was highlighted even further very recently because of the shooting that took place outside Kapil Sharma's new restaurant in Surrey, Caps Cafe. David Eby has said that these outfits are operating, specifically the Lawrence Bishnoi gang is operating out of India, and that the federal government needs to act so that there can be a clampdown on the Lawrence Bishnoi gang. The Lawrence Bishnoi gang has been linked to several crimes in Canada, specifically the shooting outside A.P. Dillon, the singer's residence in Canada, and last year it was also linked to an inter-gang violence in which another gangster, Sukhdev Singh, was killed. The Lawrence Bishnoi gang was in the news a few years ago because of the killing of Sidhu Moosewala, the singer and Congress leader, in which there were direct links that were traced to the Lawrence Bishnoi gang. They have also, in fact, been accused of the shooting outside Salman Khan's residence, and this Lawrence Bishnoi gang is now in the news in Canada because of the premiers now of 2 different provinces asking the federal government to look at the route of listing them as a terrorist organization to be able to arrest the organized crimes that they are conducting in Canada. In Vancouver, this is Maha Siddiqui for NDTV.
Over in Southeast Asia, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has said that eminent filmmaker Satyajit Ray's ancestral home in Dhaka is being demolished by Bangladeshi authorities. However, the government of India has stepped up to cooperate with the government of Bangladesh to repair and reconstruct the ancestral property. Now, the centuries-old property in Dhaka's Horikishore Ray Chowdhury Road belonged to Ray's grandfather, the renowned litterateur Upendra Kishore Ray Chowdhury. In response, India has offered to step in and work with Bangladesh to in fact restore and preserve the historic site. Recognizing its cultural significance and deep ties to the Bengal Renaissance, in fact, New Delhi has proposed turning the property into a museum, celebrating literature and the shared heritage of both nations. Now, as the demolition work continues to be underway, even as we get you this report, the Indian government has said it would prefer a reconsideration of the demolition and is ready to cooperate fully in restoring the landmark. Meanwhile, my colleague Saurabh gets you the latest on this.
Well, the reports of Satyajit Ray's ancestral house in Singh in Bangladesh being demolished has come as a shock to fans and followers of the legendary filmmaker. Because not only is this house about Satyajit Ray, in fact, Satyajit Ray says that, he wanted to use pictures of that house on a project but couldn't do so because of the dilapidated condition. However, it has a very close link to Upendra Kishore Ray Chowdhury, who's also an icon, and therefore, with this house being demolished, this has led to an outcry and calls for restoration. Now, the government of India has stepped in. The government of India has offered to help in the restoration in Bangladesh, but many are also questioning the timing of this move. While the building is in a dilapidated condition and legitimately could pose a safety risk, the question is, it follows a pattern of incidents that have been described as disturbing. And this begins with, let's say, in February 2025, when Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's ancestral house, which was a museum dedicated to the liberation struggle of Bangladesh, was burnt down by a mob. Then, in June, Rabindranath Tagore's place in Shirajganj was also targeted. And now you have Satyajit Ray's ancestral home in Singh being demolished. Interestingly, this is what is being called or described as perhaps an attempt at cultural cleansing, as radical and hardline groups strengthen their hold and gain stronghold in Bangladesh politics. And that's something that perhaps everyone's talking about, while the Bangladesh government says that it poses a safety risk and a concrete structure will replace the structure to house activities that took place there, to host activities that took place there. However, the sense one gets, at least those watching from outside, is that this is some sort of cultural revisionism and cultural cleansing that's taking place in Bangladesh.
Well, over in Yemen, the execution of Nimisha Priya has been postponed, with hectic parleys underway in the country in a last-ditch effort to in fact save the nurse from Kerala, who was sentenced to death by local authorities for killing a man who was harassing her. Now, Priya's execution was scheduled for today. However, this does not mean she would be released or be sent back to India. She is currently in Sana'a, the Houthi-held capital of Yemen. India, for perspective, does not have any diplomatic relations with the Houthi rebels. Meanwhile, the Indian embassy in Iran has issued a travel advisory urging Indian nationals to avoid non-essential travel to the country. The advisory comes amid rising security concerns in the region over the past several weeks, as we have been seeing tensions simmering in the larger West Asia region, viewers. Now, the embassy also has advised to continue monitoring the latest regional developments and follow update advisories issued by Indian authorities. Now, for Indian nationals currently in Iran who wish to return, they may very well avail the commercial flight and ferry options which have been made available. Well, it's time we step into a short break. Much more on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching India Global. Viewers, India's firepower is getting a major boost. Now, 3 deadly Apache AH-64E attack helicopters are set to arrive from the US next week. They'll be landing at the Hindon Air Force Station on the 21st of July. Dubbed tanks in the air, these advanced choppers will be deployed along the Pakistan border, enhancing frontline surveillance and offensive strike capabilities. Now, by the way, this delivery is part of a $600 million deal signed during US President Donald Trump's iconic visit to India back in 2020. That's right, with state-of-the-art targeting, night vision and even all-weather combat systems, Apaches are in fact built for precision and power. Meanwhile, 2 IAF squadrons are already active in Pathankot and the Jorat regions. The Army too received its first Apache from the Tata Boeing facility last year. Now, with 3 more arriving, India is poised to sharpen its edge on the northern frontier with Pakistan. And NDTV's managing editor Shiv Arur joins us for more on this. Shiv, first of all, what strategic advantage do exactly these new Apaches have to offer specifically along the Pakistan front?
Well, the Apache is quite simply the most advanced, most feared, most formidable attack helicopter in existence. It's a helicopter that has seen a huge amount of combat, I dare say possibly the most amount of combat of any attack helicopter in existence, barring perhaps the Mi-35 of the Russians. This is a helicopter that is not only armed with long-range weapons that are capable of destroying tanks and bunkers and vehicles and that kind of thing, but it has what is perhaps the most advanced attack electronics capability in existence on any attack helicopter. It's called the longbow system. It's a fire control radar system that makes the Apache capable of targeting, engaging and destroying targets from beyond the horizon, from behind a hill. And that makes this a weapon system and a weapons platform that is feared even when it cannot be seen. And that's the scary thing about it. Like you rightly said, the Indian Air Force already has 2 squadrons worth of these incredibly advanced helicopters built by Boeing. The Indian Army had placed an order for 6 of these helicopters back in 2020. They've been delayed by over a year now. The squadron, in fact, was raised last year in Jodhpur in Rajasthan. The helicopters will be arriving about 15 months late, owing to many different complications, from supply chain disruptions to the Ukraine war and many other issues, which is quite unusual for the supply chain between India and the United States. But as they say, der aaye durust aaye, and that's the reason why the Indian Army will be very happy to welcome these helicopters. The Indian Army, the Indian military have just been involved in an audacious mission which was called Operation Sindoor against Pakistan, where Indian assets performed incredibly well. But every new asset, especially something as advanced as an Apache, adding to our forces is always very welcome. And like Rajiv Ranjan, our reporter, has brought us those details, these will be, of course, be prowling the border areas of the India-Pakistan border, and they will have very, very formidable mission profiles over there. Important last word is that the fuselage of the Apaches are built in Telangana by the Tatas. So all of these helicopters entering service with the Indian Army are, partially made in India. The entire body of the helicopter is actually manufactured and fabricated right here in this country. So a bit of good news there as far as foreign mal entering the Indian military.
Well, thanks for putting things into perspective for our viewers there, Shiv. And of course, all eyes will be on the 21st of July. But shifting focus for now over to Washington, where President Donald Trump has said the US is now close to securing a full trade access to India. Now, this is something he claims America has never had before. We're going to have access to India, Trump said Tuesday. We had no access into any of these countries. Now we do because of what we are doing with tariffs. The president did not give full details, however, but he framed it as a major breakthrough, adding that past US administrations have repeatedly failed to open Indian markets. Now, viewers, India is a fast-growing economy and has a key player in tech, manufacturing and even pharmaceuticals. Full trade access would mean huge opportunities for American businesses. Now, Trump has also hinted more deals are coming, saying access to global markets is in fact being unlocked one by one. My colleague Sakshi Bajaj brings you more.
We're going to have trade access into India. That's the big comment from US President Donald Trump at the moment. However, as far as India is concerned, the negotiations between India and the US for a proposed trade agreement are going on at a fast pace, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has recently said, and a win-win agreement complementing both nations can take effect. So, as the negotiations really are underway, sources are also suggesting India is closely monitoring potential tariff differentials that could emerge vis-a-vis other countries as well. While the India-US trade deal is in wait-and-watch mode, remember India has drawn a clear red line on the access to India's dairy and agriculture sector. These are not just trade lines, they are cultural and political red lines. And really what's at stake here is the livelihood of millions of Indian farmers really, and the government's food and energy self-reliance goals.
In a sharp warning Tuesday, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has said countries like China, India and Brazil could in fact face crippling secondary sanctions if they keep doing business with Russia. That's correct. Now, Rutte was speaking on Capitol Hill after meeting with US senators. He said the message is clear: call Putin, push for peace or face the fallout. Now, the warning follows President Trump's announcement of massive new weapon support for Ukraine and a bold 50-day ultimatum to Russia. If there's no peace deal, buyers of Russian exports could face up to 100% tariffs. That's correct. Senator Tom Tillis praised the move but raised red flags over the 50-day delay, saying it could very well give Putin time to murder, gain ground and then bargain from strength all over again. Meanwhile, Rutte emphasized Europe is all in, footing the bill for the new US weapons, from air defenses to missiles and even ammunition this time. Meanwhile, final decisions on long-range weapons are still in the works. Now, this marks a sharp global escalation and comes as a clear message to Moscow's top trading partners.
If Russia is not serious about peace talks, within 50 days, he will slam secondary sanctions on countries like India, China and Brazil. So my encouragement to these three countries particularly is, if you live now in Beijing or in Delhi, or you are the president of Brazil, you might want to take a look into this, because this might hit you very hard. So please make the phone call to Vladimir Putin and tell him that he has to get serious about peace talks, because otherwise this will slam back on Brazil, on India and on China in a massive way.
In a significant development following the global controversy over Prada's Kolhapuri-inspired sandals, a high-level team from the luxury fashion house has arrived in Kolhapur to initiate groundwork for a potential collaboration with local artisans. Now, this is the first of a two-part visit by the brand, which had come under fire only last month for showcasing sandals that closely resemble the Kolhapuris at the Milan Spring-Summer 2026 show, without acknowledging the craft's origins or even Indian artisan community. Now, the first team visited the Jawahar Nagar area, known for producing traditional Kolhapuri footwear, and also interacted with local artisans. The second delegation, meanwhile, is expected in the first week of August. It will include Prada's global business head, the global communications head, and other senior corporate leaders as well.
आज प्राडा की टीम आई थी, जिसमें उनके 5 लोग आए थे टेक्निकल टीम से, और उन्होंने बहुत सारी हमारे कोल्हापुरी चप्पल की डिजाइन्स देखी। हमारे कोल्हापुरी चप्पल कैसी बनती है वो भी हमने दिखाया। हमारे जो कुशल कारागिरी है उन्होंने सब दिखाया कि चप्पल हम कैसे बनाते हैं, कैसे सिलाई करते हैं। तो उनके पैर में पहनाने के बाद उनको वो अच्छी लगी और उन्होंने वो एक चप्पल खरीदी भी। और हमारी यही अपेक्षा है कि जब भी आगे काम चलेगा तो प्राडा हमारे कोल्हापुर से वो चप्पलें खरीदे और उनके प्राडा शोरूम पे वो सेल करें और कोल्हापुर का नाम हमारे जग भर में जाए।
And over in the UK, King Charles III met with members of the Indian cricket team in the grounds of the Clarence House on Tuesday, a day after triumphant England men's team edged out a narrow victory over visiting India at the Lords. Now, Charles briefly commiserated with Captain Shubman Gill and Vice-Captain Rishabh Pant over their defeat before greeting other members of the team. He also met with members of the Indian women's cricket team before posing for a photo with the entire squad and various officials. We leave you with these images. Take care and have a wonderful day.